We'd like to thank you again for coming. At this time, I would like to introduce you to the host that has put this meeting together. As council member, Mayor Pro Tem Denise Adams.
I don't know if this microphone will work for me. Can you hear me? Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I have to confess, most of you that know my peers and coworkers, I don't get nervous very often, but tonight I'm nervous. And I think it's because I'm so caught up with emotion about the fact that, again, if you've heard me say, I believe in our humanity as people. And I believe that it is our responsibility to jump in and help when it's time to help. I believe that it is our responsibility to show you how much we care about you and not just during election time when we run in to get your vote. Now is the time not to talk, now is the time to walk. Am I right? The purpose of this gathering, as you know, is because of what happened the past almost 3 weeks ago. For those of you that don't know, I live in the infected or impacted area as well, right off Polo and Marlow. When I heard the sirens, like I said, Chief Mayo, I thought it was the television because I was watching Lester Holt. And you know, old people, I had it up loud and I turned the TV down and it sounded like they were just all around me. Now there is a difference in a police siren than a fire truck siren. And I knew they were fire trucks. But I didn't really think that much about it. I'm like, okay, we own the case. We're gonna handle our business like we normally do. But then there was an explosion. That first explosion. And I felt it and I heard it, and yes, it scared me. That's when we started to get the calls, the council and staff, that the Weaver fertilizer plant was on fire. For those of you that don't remember, there was a similar fire in Texas. And we knew the outcomes of that. But I also tonight want to thank the Winston-Salem Fire Department, Police Department, Sheriff, emergency responders. Please give them a hand. You know, when I grew up, when you do something wrong, or when something happens, let me clarify that. When something happens that you didn't foresee coming. In the neighborhood, when somebody's house burned down, when somebody has a loved one that dies, our humanity makes us go do something to help that family feel better. Our humanity say, take some Kentucky Fried Chicken or something by there. Our humanity says, go through our children's personal clothing and ours and see what we can do to give to the family to help ease the loss. That's our humanity. The purpose of this meeting is tonight is to show our humanity. I want you to know that the way government operates, there are those that feel like that government should do nothing. That government should stand back and let things just happen. I beg to differ on that. I believe that as taxpayers, I'm a taxpayer too, that I believe if I'm paying taxes every day on everything from some toilet tissue to gasoline to whatever, that it's like an insurance policy, as I said. You pay car insurance, house insurance, medical insurance, but you never know when you're gonna need it, but when you paying for it, you expect somebody to do something. I feel that way about our taxes. You are taxpayers. You pay into the pot. There would be those that say that, well, you get fire, police, water, sewer, streets, sidewalks, parks, right? Yeah, I got that. But it's also time for us to come together as humanity and to help try to fill a gap that you're feeling. Now, I'm not saying that we got a whole, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow like leprechauns or something, because we don't have that. But it's our responsibility to find a way to help those who had no idea that they were going to have to incur financial hardship. Everybody don't make $1,000 a week. Everybody don't make $500 a week. I can say most of the people that live in the impacted area, you live in paycheck to paycheck. And I feel like we have a responsibility to fill the gap, to try to make you whole. Now, for my businesses, I can just be quite frank, like you said, seen in the media. We working on that side. I'm working on that side. But the way that the general statute is written, we can't give money to profit businesses the way we can help with a public good or people or nonprofits. So with that, I want you to know that we got a few people going to come up and speak to you. I hope most of you have seen the news from Monday's finance meeting, whereas we're going to City Council Monday night. And I'm going to tell you, like people do always, y'all need to be writing and calling these council members and staff and the city manager and the mayor and let them know what your wishes are. Did y'all hear me? Are you going to do that? All right. So, again, we're here tonight to hear about the processes we're going forward with for Monday night. I hope everybody has signed up again, people that live in the impacted area that had to evacuate. And any businesses are here because we are still, again, actively pursuing what I got to go do to get that done in the council and the mayor. So with that being said, I'm bringing up Councilmember Barbara Burke from the Northeast Ward, who has also a part of the impacted area. Councilmember Burke.
Good evening, everyone. As Mayor Pro Tem said, I am Councilmember Burke, representative of the Northeast Ward. I'm here tonight because, as you know, the Northeast Ward and the North Ward border. We touch lines. I'm here to tell you, first of all, everything that Mayor Pro Tem just said, I support and I echo every last sentiment. We understand. We understand that this was the worst fire that this city has ever seen. And we understand that we weren't prepared for it. You were not prepared for it. We understand how it disrupted your lives and caused you to make changes and spend money that you had not planned to spend. So again, I support everything that Mayor Pro Tem said that we're going to do going forward. This is my first opportunity to speak publicly about the Weaver fire, so I want to take just a minute to say, I am appreciative to Chief Mayo. I am appreciative to our police officers, our firefighters, the Sheriff's Office, EMS, all agencies and all city departments. And if you represent a city department, please stand. I am so appreciative of all that everyone did to make sure that the residents of Winston-Salem were kept safe. This could have gone a lot of ways and in a lot of directions, but because of the leadership that we see and the blessings from God, it did not. I also want to say our first and main priority is to support our residents. As Mayor Pro Tem said, our businesses, we're working on doing what we can. Property owners, anyone within this area that was impacted in an adverse way because of the Weaver fire. We are dedicated to hearing and responding to your needs and to your concerns. So thank you for coming out. Thank you.
I am going to bring up Senator Paul Lowe, who is the North Carolina General Assembly Senator for this area. I want all of you to understand, too, we're going to get through all of this intro people thing because we want to hear from you. And you'll have an opportunity to talk to us about how you were affected, or maybe you just want to vent about what it was like that night. But I'm going to tell you this, we ain't going to be here all night either now, but. So I'm going to bring up, and we have resources that are here that I want to give them an opportunity once we get through this, before we get into the Q&A, that allows them to shout out who they are and what organizations they represent and what they can do to improve the situation at hand. Senator Paul Lowe.
I certainly would like to say thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and all of your staff, the City Council, and certainly our fire chief for the work that they do. I think that they have done a Herculean job, and we are thankful for the work that they do. As your state senator representing this district, we want to look at what we can do. We certainly want to help residents and help businesses that are affected by this fire. We haven't seen anything like this in Winston-Salem or in Forsyth County, to my knowledge. But we are looking at what we can do as a state to offer service. We are waiting. I've gotten lots of letters and emails from many of you. And in those letters and emails that we have looked at, I even brought 2 of my staff people to listen to some of your concerns. Are my staff people, where are you all at? Just stand up and wave. 2 of my staff people, amen, that are here. I'm saying amen because you all look like a congregation. But we want to look at what we can do for the betterment of all of our citizens that were affected by this fire. So once again, thank you for allowing me to say something. I just came in, just left a redistricting meeting, and we got to go back to that meeting, but we're going to stay and listen to what you have to say. So thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for your work, and thank you once again, our fire chief.
Next, we're going to bring up Assistant City Manager Patrice Toney to talk about where we are now in the process of the fire fund assistance.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Patrice Toney. I am an Assistant City Manager. I have oversight of the public safety departments as well as human relations and community development. And I'm happy to be here tonight. Greetings again to Mayor Pro Tem Adams, Councilmember Burke, Senator Lowe, and to other elected officials that may be here tonight. How many of people, by raise of hand, were directly affected by the fire? Oh, wow, okay. pretty much everyone. So many of you are here to hear about assistance for you for the fire. You all may have already heard about some of the resources that have been mentioned already. Love Out Loud received $50,000 and they are assisting people with rent and food. Second Harvest Food Bank received $25,000 to assist. But as Mayor Pro Tem Adams said, well, first of all, I work for her and the council, and she is passionate about making sure there are enough resources for the community and for those who have been impacted by this fire. So we know that the existing resources could dry up really soon, and so she wanted us to create a plan to find city dollars that could support this effort. So she proposed on Monday night to earmark $1 million towards a relief fund to help people in the 1 mile radius who were affected by the fire. You all should clap for that. So that is a proposal. That is a proposal. So the next phase of that is we will identify a nonprofit either in this area or very close to make it easy access that can help get these funds out in a very fast and efficient manner. So this will happen all of this week. We'll select that. We'll select some criteria. At the end of this program, during the comment section, we do want to hear from you and the type of impact you may have had from the fire. We know people went to hotels, and so we know that is one expense that we need to reimburse for, but there may be some other things or issues or things you've experienced that we may not know about. We want to hear about that, so as we craft the criteria, we can do that for Monday's meeting. So on Monday, we are praying that the City Council will vote unanimously to support this fund for this community. I meant to also acknowledge, I have some colleagues here. They want to stand, Assistant City Manager Aaron King and Assistant City Manager Ben Rao. Oh, and we have representatives from the City Attorney's Office as well. They are both handle fire and police, public safety, legal issues. We have, y'all can stand, Lori and Pridgeton. All right, oh, I can't forget, Wanda Allen Abraha. I just need to acknowledge her. She is our Director of Human Relations and Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So the city has many resources. If there are any ways that we can provide assistance to you, please give us a call. We have so many areas. Our website is up to date. If you have questions, you can always call 311 for assistance as well. So I will stop talking now so we can get through the program and so that we can hear from you. Up next is our Fire Chief, Trey Mayo. And he's done a great job and got a lot of recognition, and we applaud him. Also wanted to recognize August Vernon. He is our Director of Emergency Management. He did a tremendous job of preparation and planning. So good job, August. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Ms. Tony, and also Mayor Pro Tem Adams, Councilmember Burke. We appreciate you allowing us to be here tonight. Senator Lowe, good to see you. I want to reiterate what Ms. Tony said about August Vernon. He makes a lot of things go on in the background related to dealing with emergencies, both before they happen and after, that he does not receive proper recognition from. Just by nature of the way state law is set up, he has a lot of access to resources from the state because he is a city employee, but he's also a county employee. And in North Carolina, emergency management is a responsibility that is generally directed toward the county. So August, you deserve another recognition. Thank you so much for your support. I was asked to run you through the timeline of generally the first 2 hours of the event on Monday night, January 31st. And I'm going to condense 2 hours down. I'm going to try to get it through it in about 10 or 12 minutes, just to give you an idea of what was going on at the scene and to kind of help you understand how your fire resources work in the city. And if you will look on this piece of paper that everybody should have gotten when you came in, there's an aerial photograph of the Weaver facility it came out of Google Maps. But this is before the fire, and just to kind of get you oriented, so if you hold the paper like I'm holding it, this is north up, and the Weaver facility, of course, is the prominent feature in the middle. And then that building to the left, in the lower left corner of the picture with the white and the pipes on the roof, that's West Rock, just so we kind of know what we're talking about as we go through. So at 6:42, that's when the first call came in from a passerby reporting a fire at the Weaver facility. And then we got a second call from an employee at the plant. And so a minute later, the resource assignment for us, which would be a standard resource assignment, just to give you an idea of what goes and where it comes from. And when I say an engine, I'm talking about a fire engine. That's kind of the smaller fire trucks you see on the road. When I say a ladder, those are the bigger fire trucks that have the powered hydraulic ladder on top. And then a rescue company they specialize in search and rescue and water and confined space rescue and trench and kind of some of the specialty rescue services that we provide. But anyway, so that first assignment at 6:43 p.m. was Engine 8 from Renolda Road, Engine 9 from Ogburn Avenue, Engine 3 comes from Liberty Street, Engine 1 comes from Marshall Street, Engine 15 comes from the Old Town end of Chatelaine Drive, then Ladder 1 comes from downtown on Marshall Street, and Ladder 18 is coming from Peacehaven Road. Rescue 1 comes from Station 7. It sits there at the corner of Arbor and Country Club. That everybody thinks that station is addressed on Country Club. It's actually addressed on Arbor Road, but that's where that heavy rescue unit comes from. And then 2 battalion units, and they are our incident commanders. One comes from Liberty Street, one comes from Marshall Street. So some of you who live in this neighborhood and have for years probably know that the closest fire station to the Weaver facility is the station that's on the east end of Chatelaine, Station 14. There's an engine and a ladder in there. They were already on a call, so they were not in that initial resource assignment. They cleared from the call that they were on and added themselves to the resource assignment that was on the initial alarm to Weaver. When Engine 9 arrived at 6:45, so that's about a 2-minute travel time, they gave a size up to include heavy smoke and fire. They established fire command, and it's 6:48, so they have been on scene about 3 minutes. They requested a second alarm, which gets us Engine 18 from Peacehaven Road, Engine 20 from Bethania Rural Hall Road, and then on the initial alarm, Ladder 18 from Peacehaven was dispatched, but when Engine 14 and Ladder 14 cleared the call they were on and added themselves to the assignment, they cleared Ladder 18 from Peacehaven Road. So Ladder 18, on the request for the second alarm, they were added back. So at this point, there's 8 engines and 3 ladder companies, a heavy rescue, 2 battalion units, an EMS unit, and 2 police officers responding. And these times are roughly in 5 to 15-minute increments, just so that we can get through the timeline. These are kind of plus or minus 5 minutes. So at 6:50, Hazmat 1, which is on Somerset Drive, they were requested, and we suspended our medical response program citywide. When we get tapped out on resources, the first thing that we do to get things back down within control is we suspend our medical response, because when we don't go to a medical call, Forsyth EMS is still going to answer that call. Also at approximately 6:50, we requested that city county utilities boost their water delivery to the area around the plant. And that's probably when Mayor Pro Tem Adams heard the same explosions that Engine 9 was reporting at about 6:50. And if you'll look on your map now and find there are 3 number 1s kind of to the right and lower side of the building. The first action that we took to address the fire was we placed 3 2.5-inch hose lines. So these are hoses that are about this big around when they're full of water. And they were delivering 1,250 gallons a minute in an effort to cool the ammonium nitrate piles that were inside the building. At 6:55, Engine 1 was on the scene and they reported fire throughout the building. So in a matter of 15 minutes, fire had traveled just about the entire width of the Weaver fertilizer plant as you face it from Cherry Street. And if you'll find number 2 on your map, at approximately 6:55, Engine 9 was reporting exposure to the Norfolk Southern rail line. Now, that's Norfolk Southern to me because I grew up in Northeast North Carolina. That's Norfolk Southern for the rest of you in the group. But if you'll find that too, Engine 9 was reporting exposure to that rail line on what is the west side of the building, and we requested that all rail traffic be stopped on that rail line. Also at 6:55, if you'll find number 3, Ladder 18 was then on the scene, and they went into operation with an elevated heavy stream to address a large body of fire that was in that corner of the building between where you see AN on the roof and where you see the number 3 up above it. That AN on the roof of the building indicates the general location of where the bulk of the ammonium nitrate was in the building. At 7 o'clock, Engine 1 reported collapse of various parts of the building, and Ladder 1, which was operating where you see number 4 on your map, they reported high heat exposure to the ladder and the firefighters that were working on it, and Engine 3 took up a position where you see number 5 to help with the cooling operations from the fire that had grown underneath Ladder 1. Again, at approximately 7 p.m., Engine 9, they were still operating adjacent to the railroad tracks on what looks to you to be the left side of the building. And they reported that fire was moving across the railroad tracks and into the woods toward the West Rock building, which is that building that has the white roof. At 7:06, a third alarm was requested. That brought Engine 4 from MLK Junior Drive and Engine 5 and Ladder 5. They're on Palmer Lane, which is just off Clemensville Road on the south side of the city. At 7:20, Engine 9, they're on the rail cars, they're on the rail line side. They reported involvement of a rail car, but also that the smoke was obscuring them from being able to see the rail car very well, so they could not identify its contents. A rail car by law has to have a placard on the side, and that denotes, there's a 4-digit number on it that denotes what that rail car is carrying. They couldn't see the placard because of the smoke. Ladder 5 was assigned, so where you see 8 on your map in the edge of the West Rock truck parking lot, Ladder 5 set up there, flowing 2 heavy streams onto that rail car that was now being reported as exposed to fire by Engine 9 on the side of the building. At 7:50, Engine 9 was able to get close enough to those rail cars to report 2 things. One, that Ladder 5's streams were adequately cooling that car, and that it was placarded UN 1942, which is the 4-digit number that's on that placard that denotes pure ammonium nitrate. At 8 o'clock, we were able to make contact with a Weaver employee on the scene who advised that that rail car placarded 1942 was fully loaded. That's 90 tons. If you've never been close to a rail car, you don't realize how big they are. But when you're standing next to a rail car, they carry a lot of freight, and this one's fully loaded. And again, that's 90 tons of ammonium nitrate. So at that time, our incident commander ordered an evacuation of that side of the building. We had been on scene for 45 minutes. At 8:20, we estimate that we had flowed 600,000 gallons of water. If you do the math, so at the height of our effort to control the fire, we were flowing 6,300 gallons a minute. The fire was not getting any better. We had been, the senior staff of the fire department was on the scene, and we had been briefed about what was in the building, how much, and we had been briefed on the Chemical Safety Board's review of the West Texas fertilizer plant explosion. That was in 2013. So at 8:20, command ordered a full evacuation. That's when we established that 1 mile evacuation distance around the plant. At 8:44, we established a command post to run this incident at 319 Perimeter Point Boulevard, and it stayed there until February 4th on a 24-hour basis. That facility never closed, where we were running fire command, logistics, planning, all the support that had to go into managing this event. At times, there were 50 or 60 people in that building. I mean, every time we bought a meal, or somebody, in most cases, people were bringing us food, but when they called and said, how much food do you need, we were serving 60 meals at every meal hour. So just to give you an idea of what it takes to run an event of this magnitude. At 9:30, airspace was, we controlled the airspace in that 1 mile evacuation area. By 11 o'clock that night, we had brought all the fire stations back online with either off-duty city staff or mutual aid units from the county who were coming in and helping us fill those fire stations. And then at 2 a.m. Tuesday morning, that's when the on-ground evacuations began. We had to get some mapping and routing stuff in place to be able to make that happen on the ground, so that we made sure we had traveled all the streets and covered everything in that 1 mile. And at 4 a.m., that's when that evacuation was completed. And there is more timeline. There will be an after-action report conducted of this event, but that kind of gets you through from 6:42 on Monday evening until 4 a.m. on Tuesday morning, which is when kind of the bulk of the response occurred. So that ends my presentation. I don't want to belabor this any longer. And let's see, we have August Vernon is up next from Emergency Management.
First of all, good evening, and second, I am certainly not as tall and handsome as the fire chief. Good evening, my name is August Vernon. I'm the director for the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Office of Emergency Management. And real quick, I'll explain what emergency management is so you have a general idea. We typically are behind the scenes, as Chief said. We are a city-county department, and this department exists in all 100 counties across North Carolina. Also, there is the State Division of Emergency Management, and there's the Federal Division of Emergency Management, which is referred to as FEMA. So those are the 3 layers of emergency management. As far as the State Division of Emergency Management, within a few hours of this incident occurring, we had reached out to our regional coordinator with the State Division of Emergency Management, and they immediately sent personnel out to the scene, or to the site where we were at, and were with us for the rest of the week. Our primary mission is obviously responding to disasters, and we do that 3 ways: planning, training, and exercises. In major incidents when they occur, across the city or the county, or even across the region, because the counties all support each other, and we did see that with this incident. Our job is to help with coordinating all the resources that will respond to the incident. and we also support what we call the primary agency. Again, it could be a tornado, an active shooter incident, or a major fire. In this case, our job was to support the men and women of the Winston-Salem Fire Department, and we did do that. I think the important thing to know with this, and again, I'll be very short and sweet here, is we had over 45 different departments and agencies, both local, state, regional, federal, nonprofits, again, over 45 agencies, and that list continues to grow. Some of those partnerships included the fact that for the first incident I've ever been on in 30 years, we had to fly drones 24/7 for several days. And we've never done that before, so it took about 10 or 12 different departments across the Piedmont to provide drone coverage, because again, we really could not approach the scene, but we had to see what was going on and allow the fire department to see what was going on around the clock, so that was done with a lot of drone support. So again, I think all those great partnerships led to the fact that we did not have any injuries or fatalities as a result of the fire, and we have great partnerships with all our community partners here in the city, county, and that really occurred that evening. So, and I've got two examples of those partnerships here tonight. The first one will be Mr. Keith Huff, who's Director of Field Operations, who will give an environmental update. And after Mr. Keith Huff will be Mr. Minor Barnett, who's with Forsyth County Environmental Affairs, and they'll be speaking about both water quality and air quality. So, Mr. Huff, I guess I'll hand it off to you, sir.
Thank you, August. Again, my name is Keith Huff. I'm with the Field Operations Section with the City of Winston-Salem. And as August mentioned, this was a very collaborative effort. And if you don't mind, I'm going to take this mic, or try to, so I can move around and point some aspects out on these maps. Chief mentioned the amount of fire suppression water that was used to treat and contain this fire. Approximately 4.2 million gallons of fire suppression water over the course of the entire fire event. So a substantial amount of water was used to treat the fire. That obviously mixed with the chemicals and fertilizers that were on the fire site. So question, where did that water go? Well, it went into our local waterways, unfortunately. And then it begs the question, is our water at the tap safe to drink? And we aim to tackle that question first and foremost. So if you look at your agendas, you have a map on the lower section. And for those that don't have their maps with them, I'm going to point to this upper section right here. This is our county map here, and we have some streams embedded in this map. And up by the Highway 52 symbol here is a red star. That's the Weaver Fire location. And basically, the path of these fire suppression waters went into Monarchis Creek, then into Mill Creek, then went into Muddy Creek, and then went out of our county and into the Yadkin River. So again, is our water safe to drink as a result of this fire? And the answer to that question is yes, it is, because the city of Winston-Salem, our water intakes are above the fire discharge suppression water. Northwest Dam, up at the upper left-hand corner of the map, Idles Dam at the county line, and then the Salem Lake Dam over to the right side of your picture. Our water supply intakes are nowhere close to where this fire suppression water is tracking. So we wanted to tackle that first and foremost to give the citizens some peace of mind that the water coming out of your tap is safe to drink. So moving on, what's happening with sampling and monitoring in the area? What's happening with the plant? So when all this broke loose, we started tracking, where's this pollutant train going? What kind of concentrations are we seeing? Did we see a fish kill? The answer is yes. We saw dead fish in the creek, and that's where we started looking at these human health effects. We also started looking at the monitoring or the sampling in the creek to determine what kind of chemical loading we had for nitrogen, phosphorus, those chemicals that are prevalent in fertilizer. And we found initially that the chemical concentrations were high, but they were waning down as the days went on, and some things started happening with the parent site where the fire occurred. So a number of people, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, came out, the state, local forces came out and had a collaborative effort, and were sampling the creeks and streams to monitor their health daily. And as the days went by and you had several things happen, and I'll jump to the site conditions in a minute, we found that we had some other issues. The site water started reducing concentration as far as pollutant loading, but as we tracked it back, we found that there was another site at Brownsboro Road, and we had to take action there. It was an auxiliary storage site that had some fertilizer that was exposed to rainfall. Staff got with Weaver. We had to issue a notice of violation, but Weaver is undertaking action right now to correct those activities. So they've been active on board on their auxiliary sites as well as their main site. They've also constructed a 9,000-gallon containment berm, which they are pumping the water that should fall from the sky, or in any process that they might undertake with deconstruction of the plant as it moves forward. So any of that water that is coming off the plant site right now is being taken via this containment berm into tankers called frac tanks via a properly licensed environmental contractor, and taken off-site and properly disposed. They probably have in the neighborhood of 20 of these, what they call frac tanks, that hold 20,000 gallons of water apiece. So this water is not flowing into our local waterways anymore. It's going into a safely contained system and being disposed of properly. So the Weaver folks are taking steps to mitigate these things as we move forward in the fire. So long term, there was a health advisory posted for Monarchis Creek, Mill Creek, and Muddy Creek, but I'm happy to report today that that's been lifted because the pollutant loading in those streams has resulted in safe water conditions at this point. We're still seeing residual pollutants, but it's safe enough now that we've lifted the water advisory, so happy to report that. In the long term, we'll continue to monitor the streams and creeks to make sure there's no adverse effects, and we'll continue to work with Weaver on the reclamation and the cleanup of the site and the environmental conditions. So wanted to be brief. I know you've been here a long time, so thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Keith. I want you all to understand and give these people a hand, because when we're asleep, they up working. They up working. I am proud of the staff of the city of Winston-Salem, because when it's time to go, they go. Again, that's what your tax dollars pay for. At this time, we want to go ahead with the question and answers. Ed, do we have mics, or do they need mics? This one right here. And I need y'all not to be shy, all right? And I'm asking you to come forward. Tell us, I tell people you got a minute on the mic, okay? If you can be as brief as possible so we can get to hear everybody. We got people recording what you're saying. All of you, I hope, registered before you came in. If you would give, and this is what we do at City Hall and committee, if you would give us your name and your address, that's all we want. But if you can tell us, what is it that you lost, if you can? What is it that was impacted? What is it that you think we can do? But you got a minute on the mic, and yours truly controls the hook, okay? So, the young lady up here against the wall, if you want to come down. If some of you that already know you want to speak, I don't need everybody to line up, but if 5 or 6 of you will come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having this meeting this evening. Thank you all for your diligent work and your hard work. It is greatly appreciated by me, my family, and other members of the community. I did have a couple of questions, just 2 quick ones.
You got to speak in the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm only 5'1", you know, it's a height problem. But yes, I am curious in knowing, for people like me, for example, I work from home. So during those days of the evacuation, as you stated, yes, funds had to go out unexpectedly for hotel rooms, but also funds were lost for me working as well because I wasn't able to work during those times. So I'm wondering, is there anything that's in place for people who may be in my situation that was not able to work because they worked from home and was evacuated during that time?
Thank you. What we heard was she said that she works from home. And that, is there anything that we can do for that? So I hope staff, did you tell us your name and your address?
My apologies. My name is Catherine Bates. My address is 4823 Cherry Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next person. Hi.
Hi, my name is Vonda Thomas, and I'm from the Piney Grove community on Indiana Avenue. So my first question is, how much ammonium nitrate did the Weaver plant have on site during their last report that was submitted here in the city of Winston-Salem? That's my first question. My second question is, how in the world did we have 600 tons of hazardous material there in a residential area? And who approved it? My next question is, according to the report that I heard during the news conference, it said that the Tier 2 compliance was last submitted in 2019. There was no compliance in 2020. There was no compliance in 2021. Therefore, someone did not do their due diligence. Who is that person, and when will they be held responsible?
Thank you.
When I don't do my job, I'm held responsible. So someone needs to be held responsible, because I had to get up in the middle of the night with my child with no clothes and run to a hotel with nothing. I lost work, I had to pay for a hotel, I had to pay for food, I had to go to the Red Cross. It was unfair and it is unfortunate, but someone needs to be held accountable.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Again, I want people to know that you are being recorded. That's why we're asking you for your name and address so we can follow up as well. You told us
4673 Indiana Avenue, the Piney Grove community.
And your name again, please.
My name is Vonda Thomas.
Thank you. Next person, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sabrina Thomas. I also live in the Piney Grove community. I live the next street over from Weaver Fertilizer. Wednesday, the fire chief stated that they had people going around knocking on doors to evacuate. In the Piney Grove community, one street over, it never happened. My address is 4637 Tobacco Street. Weaver first operated in 1940. The homes in Piney Grove was built in 1920 and 1930. How in the world was Weaver Fertilizer allowed to have 600 tons of ammonium nitrate in my backyard and I didn't know anything about it? I feel as though the city failed us, the state failed us, and Weaver Fertilizer should not be in our community. We are still suffering from the smell, our eyes burning. I have to sit in my house with a face mask on. It's not fair. We want fertilizer, the city and the state responsible, because this should never have happened in a residential area. When there's a Weaver Fertilizer, any fertilizer plant need to be out in the county.
Thank you.
Way out in the county, not in a community.
Okay.
We are not guinea pigs. We are not guinea pigs, and we will not stand for Weaver Fertilizer, the city and the state, not to be responsible for the hurt and the pain that we are going through.
Thank you. Next person.
My name is Lanita Petties. My address is 4011 Dalton Street. And actually, I'm here on a whole different approach. First of all, I would like to thank you guys for the research that you have done with the water and air. I'm here on behalf of homeowners, home renters, whom soil was affected. As minute or minimal as this may seem, but there is so much ash that's compacted. I don't have a pretty lawn. The mud and the dirt is actually gray and black for so much residue from this fire. And I haven't heard one thing about what they're gonna do for the homeowners and the residents whose yards, and if you have grass, you won't even see it. But I unfortunately don't have a pretty lawn. The whole yard is full of ash, dirt, and we can't get rid of it. We rake it clean, and it gets deeper, deeper, and deeper in the soil. As a homeowner or renter, how can we afford to get this repaired or cleaned? We could clean our cars. We could clean our house. I could clean my trampoline. I can't clean my dirty dirt. The dirt is dirty. And how can we get that repaired or cleaned? Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Okay. Okay. Acércate un tanto. Ah, okay. Acércate. Okay. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Guadalupe.
Good afternoon. Yes, go ahead. But you can go ahead. One of the things I need to say is if there's anyone that needs an interpreter so they can be understood, we have interpreters here. Okay, go ahead.
Ok, mi nombre es María Guadalupe, yo vivo en la Polo Row. Bueno, ahorita estamos con lo que pasó, con los nervios, aparte psicológicamente, nos sacaron, nos evacuaron a las 2 de la mañana, 2:45, no me quería salir porque no tenía dónde ir. Entonces, me tuve que salir porque hubo una persona que seguido me estaba marcando para que yo me saliera. Aparte de eso, si llegaba a explotar eso, hay muchos gasolines alrededor. ¿Se imaginan todo lo que hubiera producido? Entonces, todas las personas que estamos alrededor estamos nerviosos psicológicamente. Aparte de eso, son químicos muy fuertes que nos va a perjudicar con el tiempo. Ahorita no, pero todo ese olor nosotros lo olimos. Cada vez que abríamos la traila, la casa, entraba el humo. ¿Por qué? Porque estaba corriendo hacia allá. Era humo negro, humo blanco, y se imagina todo lo que perjudicó a la salud de uno. Y ya somos personas mayores de edad. Entonces, queremos responsables y que nos apoyen. Gracias.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Juan Gomez. We work right behind the plant, 4629 Tobacco Street. Just wanted to let you know I represent a lot of my co-workers. Let you know they miss work. They was scared. We was scared. We was smelling all that smoke, and we don't have no idea what's going on over there. So can you imagine if you all speak English and you don't know what's going on? Some of them don't speak English, don't understand what's going on. So maybe we need more information in the future for anything like that for Hispanic community. Okay. And I want to say thank you to the city and thank you for all you hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that, as you know, sometimes you don't know things until things happen to get your mind thinking. But I have always been a proponent that if we're speaking to the people, we need to speak to all the people and not just the people that know English. That's why we needed to make a concerted effort, because I recognize where my brown folk live in my ward. I know. Right now, Latino Hispanics represent over 20% of the population of Winston-Salem. And they need to be heard, and they need to be engaged. So right now, moving forward, that's why you see all these interpreters here. That's why you see the earbuds here for the interpreters to be able to talk to my folk so they can hear the same things that everybody else hears. That's why going forward in city council and committee meetings, there will be Spanish subtitles, and there will also be a sign language interpreter also. Also, whenever we print anything and we want y'all to know about it, all of us need to know. There will be Latino and Hispanic interpretations on both sheets of everything. And I don't care what it costs, but going forward, you can know your voice will be heard. Thank you. Next person, please.
Okay, I'm sorry for my English. I'm going to try to practice a little more, but okay. My name is Connie Trejo, and I represent those people. I represent Immigrant Home, El Hogar del Inmigrante. El Hogar del Inmigrante is a non-profit. So right now, we have 400 families apply in our centers for any support. You ask for losses and damage, and here is what those people say, okay? I feel anxiety. I have sleeping problems. I have headaches, burning eyes. Some of the people feel dizziness and vomited, okay? And I remember that day because I was there with them. I was there to rescue those people. El Hogar del Inmigrante helped 34 families located in different hotels. I'm talking about seniors and people with babies. They are scared for COVID. That's why they don't want to go to shelter, okay? So unfortunately, El Hogar del Inmigrante is not a big center. So we have to use money that we have for other programs for this, because this is an emergency. What we learn of this, that we are not ready for this kind of situation. It was a chaos. The language barrier, I mean, everybody was on shock. I'm talking about police, I'm talking about firefighter, I'm talking about people. They don't know what to do. It was a pitch black. If you were driving that day, I mean, everything, it was crying, children's crying. It was a completely chaos, okay? As far as I know, El Hogar del Inmigrante is the only non-profit center that is helping to those people. As a matter of fact, they still give me this, okay, with losses and also with a lot of damage, emotional damage. My question is, what about with those symptoms in the future? I think that we have to be ready in the future. A lot of us, we're going to have problems with the lungs, right? What happened in the future? Who's going to pay for that? The health is very expensive right here. As you say, it's time to humanity. It's not about Hispanic, American, white, African. It's time for humanity, for persons beings. God bless you all.
Thank you.
My name is Bernard Russell. I stay at 4260 Brownsboro Road, apartment D12. And my concern in pertaining to the fire and everything, when they said evacuated, I evacuated. And I went to my mother's house. And so when I came back home on the 9th of February, my neighbor said to me, where you been? I said, I left. When they said evacuate, I left. So she said, did you hear the news? I said, I don't look at the news. But anyway, so I called Nationwide, I called them, and I called the the people that was handling this. And they said to me that if you don't have no receipt, we can't pay you. So the question that I asked them was that when they said evacuated, I went to my mother's house. So when they say go, I went. And they said to me, if you don't have a receipt, we can't pay you. But I'm sitting here listening at y'all say, we got funds here, we got funds there, we got funds here. So my thing with me, when I went to my mother's house, how can I charge my mother to stay in her house? And it's Weaver's fault. So the thing it was, when I talked to one of the social workers and everything, they say, Mr. Russell, that's a good question. So right today, this is why I'm here, standing for righteousness. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, God get the glory in this because it could have been worse. You see what I'm saying? So my thing to it, imitating to it all, that thanks be to God, it didn't happen.
Just so, again, all of you know that in order for us, when we get back together, staff, and again, we've been working on this deal for a couple of weeks now. We don't have the knowledge and what happened to you. We can't walk in your shoes. That's why you're here tonight to tell us. When I've been throwing out to staff that everybody's not going to have a receipt, but if I had, like Mr. Russell said, if I got to leave in the middle of the night and I ain't got nowhere to go but over a friend's house or my mama's house and I'm eating up their food, using their gas, you know what I'm saying? We got to look at every situation. That's why, again, we want to get it on paper, recording, so that everybody that's going to be putting this deal together get a chance to listen. Because look, I want you to know Councilmember Burke and I are fighting for what needs to happen right. As Mr. Russell said, let's just be right. Everybody's situation ain't the same. A mama running out the house with 2, 3 babies and leave all the diapers behind, and now I got to go buy some diapers. You know what I'm saying? So, you're up next. Thank you for your patience.
I'm Jacqueline Myers. I'm 901 Del Monte Court. When it happened, I was downstairs cooking. My house shook. That's how bad it was. That was the first blast. The second blast, my house shook. So we had to go to a hotel. But I noticed now I have ceiling structure. My ceiling is cracked. And I don't think I should have to go to my insurance to get that fixed. You know, that's not my insurance fault. I shouldn't have to, file no insurance to get my ceiling fixed. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Just like, again, I'm reiterating, we don't know everything that's going on, what happened over the past 2 or 3 weeks. You're the witness to tell us the story. And I apologize, the city and myself, that I can't give you any definitive answers right now. We'll, again, just like the $1 million, just like some other things, but I can tell you one of the things that I know was in my top 3, and that's environmental hazmat and cleaning and all this other stuff. You know, I'm like, if I live where an area, like you said, that the soot and the plume came in my house and the ash, I need somebody to come up in that joint and clean it. You next.
My name is Paulette Birch, and I live at 4236 Indiana Ave. My concern is, if Weaver's gonna rebuild, I think we need to be notified. Because I don't think these people want Weaver in their residential area, as the woman was saying. It should not have been in a residential area in the first place. I had the eye burning, I had the throat burning, I had all that. I got diabetes. I got another thing to be concerned about now. I got PTSD because fire trucks were everywhere. It just seemed like time I hear them, I'm panicking again.
You're not the only one. The day I heard a bunch of them, I was like this.
I don't want to have to go through this again. I don't. And like you said, you're not in our shoes. But we were. And we don't want this to happen again. That's all I got to say.
Just so you know, we also, again, got resources and representatives here from Novant, Atrin, about how do we now drive a stake in the ground going forward to track and monitor the health of the people that were in the impacted area from the time this incident happened going forward. It's not just for us grown folk, it's for the children, my elderly, those of us with underlying conditions, all of that. Because we may not see the ramifications of that fire until 2 or 3 years later when all of us start to come down with certain things, illnesses, cancer, whatever, okay?
Hello everyone. My name is Eunice Campbell, and I am the precinct chair, or was the precinct chair for 201, which is this area. And I've been advocating for my voters for the last 6 years as precinct chair, so that's why I'm here tonight, even though I live just barely outside the evacuation zone, but we still felt the effects of it because you are my constituents. I was on a call last week with Neighbors for Better Neighbors. And on that call, there were a lot of people who were resources that you all are going to need, because $1 million is not going to take care of this. And once that $1 million is gone from the city, there is no guarantee, no promises that anything else will come. My bet is that nothing else will come, because they cannot afford to do that. The compensation needed for the 6,000 residents is beyond the compensation ability of the city of Winston-Salem. Let's be honest. The people that I had conversation with, who are among the conversation, are the people that are looking for the residents of this area. They want to hear from you. There were people from the EPA, there were environmental specialists, scientists, there were even class action lawsuit attorneys. Those are the individuals that are going to help in the long run, and the work that will need to be done. It's going to take organization of our citizens with these individuals who have already come to help. They just need to be able to have a meeting place with you all. They need to be in contact with y'all. They are ready. People who were on the call from NC State, Wake Forest, Georgia. So you've got people's ears, you've got their attention. They are here to help beyond the immediate, because one of the things that I did request on that call was the fact that we need mobile medical units throughout our community right now doing baseline studies on individuals, and that needs to be done periodically for the next several years because they don't know the effects. And another thing that, just simple research, in 2013, at a meeting at the city council, there was a Weaver disaster plan that the fire department developed and presented at a public safety meeting. At that time, they were well aware of the amount of explosive or potentially explosive chemicals that was at Weaver. Now, why 7 years later, per the fire chief, they did not know what was there. I don't know what happened, but that's a question that the city of Winston-Salem needs to answer to, because it was Weaver's due diligence their duty of care to make sure that the people, the residents around their fertilizer plant were protected. It doesn't matter that the city code did not call for sprinklers, but if you know that a fire is imminent, then you go out and you get sprinklers because you care about the people and the environment and the city that you live in. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
But I want to let y'all know that there are other resources available.
Next person, please.
Good evening. My name is Lamar Perry, and I live at 307 Elm Drive. I wrote all my concerns down so that I wouldn't forget what they were. So I'm going to be quick. My first question was, why wasn't the gravity of the situation communicated in the beginning to all businesses and residents within the 1 mile radius? It was only suggested and encouraged that residents leave their homes. Many people were not even aware of the situation until the next day and had to be notified by other residents or friends who relayed that information. I know that because I was one of them that contacted my neighbors. The evacuation should have been mandatory and enforced by going door to door and/or notification of business owners in the evacuated area. The fire was first witnessed from 6 to 6:30 p.m. on Monday, January 31st by someone, but it wasn't until 3 a.m. on Tuesday, February 1st, that residents in my neighborhood were notified by law enforcement in the street. Days went by and some residents returned to their homes to pick up things, or they never left because at the beginning they were oblivious to the fact that anything was going on. Some residents were sleeping. Everyone does not listen to the 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. news or use social media. The first that we learned that between 5,000 and 500 to 6,000 people could have potentially lost their lives and property was after people were allowed to go back to their homes. All entrances, even the entrance leading from University Parkway onto Cherry Street, should have been manned and blocked during the entire time. I was not notified by cell phone until days later, specifically Thursday evening, that there was even an evacuation of the area taking place. Although I was aware by listening to the news. I went to a friend's house. I never received a message on my home or cell phone about community meetings, although some residents received at least 2 calls. Even though some residents did not have a place to go during the evacuation, they were provided centers set up for them to travel to. They were forced to undergo safety concerns amid the COVID pandemic, while others were forced to be displaced to homes of relatives, friends, and hotels. In addition, it forced others to travel to distances outside the city. All residents and businesses within the designated 1 mile radius had their lives, which was most importantly, their livelihood, emotional, physical, mental health put at risk. And these factors should be considered, contemplated, and discussed before any decisions are made about compensation. All risk may not be immediately apparent, but may become evident in the future. For example, as has already been stated, air quality issues, water pollution, contamination, so forth. Residents also were unable to receive or retrieve their mail for 4 days. Residents are still experiencing difficulties accessing their neighborhood due to the fire and are having to reroute their daily travel, which is compounded by the road work being done or lack of at the intersection of University and Cherry Streets. All communities within the Winston-Salem Forsyth County should be viewed in an unbiased and equitable manner of law-abiding, tax-paying citizens who contribute to the overall value of this community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bethany Seatsma. I live at 1720 Brookwood Drive within the 1 mile radius of evacuation. And first, I guess thank you to all of the emergency personnel and firemen who showed up, and my house didn't blow up, okay? So thank you for that. However, I guess my first question is how much is still there? Okay, so like they've managed to tamp out all the fire, but how much is actually still there and needs to be safely removed and mitigated, and what's happening to it? And then secondly, why is everyone's talking about wanting to be notified in the instance of the emergency, but how hard would it have been to notify people when they go to sign a lease or when they go to purchase property that there's going to be a specific risk in that area? We all have to have fire extinguishers in rental homes. We all are notified if there's going to be asbestos siding or asbestos in the paint. These are very simple things that I think that we can implement, that it's like there is a risk in this area so that we have a choice to move there from the beginning. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Kelly. I live at 42 Trace View Drive, which is the Sugar Creek Apartments right off of Brown Roll Road. To grab your kids, 10 and 3 years old, in the middle of the night. It's hard to look at my 10-year-old and say, grab your uniforms because I don't know when we're going to be able to come home. It's hard. To sleep on an air mattress, your husband, yourself, and your 2 kids in your mom's spare room for 4 days is hard. Like others, I don't have receipts for the food I spent, even though there were groceries in my refrigerator. Like my sister said, I work from home. I lost 3 days. I have bills, I have rent. I live paycheck to paycheck with 2 kids. And nobody is looking out, or I feel like, for me, because I don't have the receipts. I have the experience. I fled my home, flames behind me as I fly down Cherry Street. But I don't have what the insurance company is requiring of me to file a claim against my insurance to be made whole. I don't have the PTO days from my employer to still get paid, to pay my Duke, to pay my Spectrum, to pay my rent. So a suggestion to whoever is running the website, the Love Out Loud, who requires you to upload receipts that you don't have.
But that's Love Out Loud.
I'm just saying, I don't know if anybody from Love Out Loud is here.
That's what I'm trying to fix, and we don't operate in the same vein. More prep, whatever, respect to them.
Absolutely.
But that's why I needed y'all here tonight to tell this group that we don't operate in that same vein, that we got receipts for everything, a piece of paper.
And I don't know if anybody from Love Out Loud is here. But even when you do have receipts, because we spent a night at the hotel, you can't upload more than 1 document to their website. So something needs to be done. If there are resources out there, let us know. That was my biggest frustration on the news. They're saying there's hotels who are giving discounts, but not once did they mention a hotel's name until Wednesday. Because we didn't have $136 to spend a night. It was Wednesday before we found out that the Courtyard Marriott was discounting rooms. And it didn't make sense, because I'm like, when you have 2 kids and you don't have that. You just don't have it. So I asked the city to just be compassionate and put yourself in our shoes. To have that compassion and empathy to know that we work hard for our money, and we work hard every day to be a good, law-abiding citizens in this community, doing our best day by day. So give us some help, because we need it. We all need it. We wouldn't be here if we didn't.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Anthony Brannon. I stay at 4673 Indiana Avenue. And my main concern right now is the level of contamination on the site and the long-term effects. Because if that site is deemed too hazardous for anything to be put in place on there, then you have to question the residents and the surrounding areas and how contaminated our residents is. And what's the long term? Because bottom line is, let's face it, the property value is going to go down the toilet. It's really going to go down the toilet because there's no way you're going to have anyone that's going to be willing to actually come in that area and grow when they know that there's that level of contamination in the area. And so the question I'm just asking you is, what's the long-term goals in terms of if it ever come to that point that the area is too contaminated for anything to be put on that site, and then what you have in place in terms of the surrounding areas, and what can we do about the area that we stay in and the long-term effects of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Oh, hey, okay. My name is Jasmine Huff. I live at 432 Carnot Circle. I've lived in Winston my whole life. I went to school at North Hills. Can y'all hear me? Oh, nice. Hey. Yeah, so why was there school on Friday, and what mechanisms were in place for people who were trying to evacuate to get back to get their children to school that same week while there was an explosion risk? Thank you for giving us information about the water. What's going on with the water quality in cities below us? And when I got out of town, while I live half-mile right outside the evacuation zone, I saw the sky on fire and the smoke just drifting. How far were the pollutants, and do I need hazmat help to clean my home? How close is safe anymore? And in reaction to people talking about issues with communication, what communication can be done to make sure that folks that live outside of the area? I know I talked to a lot of people who thought that people were being taken care of and would have helped if they knew how bad the communication was and how much support people needed, and how much support people do need. So I just wanted to add those, and thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Catilius Archie Myers, and I am the owner of New Dimensions Hair Studio, located at 8001 North Point Boulevard, Suite E. So I am here on behalf of the businesses that I seem to keep hearing that we're not getting any help, or you're working on getting help. So my thing is, the residents pay taxes, the businesses pay taxes. I heard someone say something about living paycheck to paycheck. In my business, I'm client to client. My clients to clients take care of my personal bills and my business bills. So you're talking about I lost a whole week of work. That's 20 to 25 clients plus that I had to call at midnight, send out text messages because I start work at 6 o'clock to tell them that you can't come and get service for a whole week. So the humanities side of it is, yes, the residentials are important, but so are the businesses. So I just think it just needs to be fair. Fair is fair. The same effort that's being put into helping the residents of the community should be put into the businesses of the community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dewan Muhammad. I'm the president and CEO of IL&T Financial Consulting Incorporated. And I'm here also to speak on behalf of the businesses. Work could not be done. Businesses were closed, revenue was lost. Something needs to be put in place to help the business owners. All up and down North Point Boulevard, you have businesses from the top of Cherry Street all the way down to Popeyes. There's businesses on both sides of the road. The police had everything blocked off. You couldn't even get to or from. You couldn't get in at all. So for the whole week, nothing transpired. Something needs to be done. With the city of Winston-Salem, something needs to be set up for the business owners. We do pay taxes. We do participate. We take care of our community. We'd like for you to take care of us as well. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cameron Sykes. I'm speaking on behalf of our business. This is 7732 North Point Boulevard and 8100 block of North Point Boulevard. We're a pawn shop, and when this had come about, we actually shut down. We followed the orders. Chief Mayo, I give you regards, because if it wasn't for you guys doing the job, we wouldn't be here today. But we noticed a really strong surge in community, reaching out to us from our voicemails to social media. The community was in desperate need of help. We came back during this evacuation to open up the shop, and it wasn't about the bottom dollar. It was about mothers coming in with their children with just the clothes on their back and trying to pawn things and try to get things because they had no money. We did complimentary loans. I did loans on clothing because these people had nothing. This isn't about a loss. We took a loss, a substantial loss, because this all happened at the beginning of the month where people couldn't get their mail because they got their Social Security checks. So yeah, we took a loss, but it's not about my business taking a loss. It's about the community. These people lost, and I seen it firsthand. And I apologize to anybody out here that was our customers that we couldn't be open for those first couple of days until we heard you. We heard you, and we realized that you really needed help. And I just want to make it known that these people suffered, and I seen it firsthand. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Alex. I'm at 4260 Brownsboro Road, D61. I have to remember. I just moved here, and I felt like I'm new to Winston-Salem, and had I known I was that close to a plant, maybe I would have chose somewhere else to stay, but now I'm like stuck here for a lease. My grandson, who I have custody of, missed a whole week out of school, whereas other kids may have been able to go back. But because we were new to the area, he had to stay out an extra time because we weren't there. I couldn't get him registered. So he missed over almost 2 weeks of school to get it done. I guess my question is, and my concern is the fact that I wasn't told about this plant. And in fact, I worked at that time in Durham. So when we got here, evidently it had just caught on fire because my grandson saw the flames. I didn't know what it was. So I didn't know what it was until the next day, where my father in Cleveland, Ohio called me up because he saw it on CNN. I said, I didn't know. I had no idea. I did get the alert, but because I worked at that time in Durham, I didn't get it until I was in Durham. Then I had to drive all the way back because my daughter was there with our dog, and she's asthmatic, and I had no clue of what was going on. I just felt like being new to the area, I don't know the resources, I don't know where to go, and I just feel like I'm out here. I don't know what to do or where to go, but my damages extend far beyond the 4 or 5 days that everyone else is. My damages are still to this day because now I was forced to take time out of my new job that I got here in Winston-Salem to get him registered for school, and then it took a while for him to get on the bus, so I had to go to work late because he had to get to school. And then I had to get off early to pick him up from school because there was no buses. It takes time to get them registered. And then, I don't know where these answers are. And I see all these people asking questions, but where are we going to get the answers? Or where are the answers going to be posted? Because there's some of the same concerns I have. Like I said, it was that lasting effect. It's not now, it's years down the road. What kind of health concerns, if I have a cough, do I know that this is what it's from? That's my concern. And where are we going to get the answers to these questions that I've heard today? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Florina Bird Harrison, and I live at 4901 Wilkes Drive, and I love you, sister. You've done a wonderful job. My question is there a representative from the Winston Weaver Company here? Is there a spokesperson here? Because we're giving our concerns to you all, but because they are accountable for this, I think one should be here and hear this frustration and hear our concerns.
We are taking your questions, comments, name, address. This is not the last time we will meet.
Yes.
You will be hearing from us on everything that has transpired here tonight. I believe in follow-up on everything. So again, you all know, you watch enough, and I'm not being disrespectful. You all watch enough TV and crime shows and everything. Y'all probably know CSI or whatever better than I do. The point is, whenever there is a fire, a bomb, flood, tornado, wreck, there's an investigation. The investigation takes a part of our criminal justice system. The city, being who we are, we can't talk about that. Not right now, anyway. You know, all I know is it was important for us to get out in front of you. You know, regardless whether you yell at us, scream at us, cuss at us. No, you ain't gonna cuss at me, but anyway. But it was important that your voices were heard in person versus an email or text or social media or TV. Trust me, we on the job. We gonna do what we gotta do. When you talk about the environmental issues, when you talk about the PSTD mental issues, when you talk about all of the things that you mentioned here tonight, having to leave your homes, having to go somewhere else, staying in your homes, afraid, anxious. Again, I would like all of the representatives that are here from these different places, Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist, where you at? I got, what about Camille? These two? Okay, well, I got Atrium Health Wake Forest here. I got Atrium Health Wake Forest, well, both of those. Novant Health. I got Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods here. I got Love Out Loud here. I got the Hispanic League here. I got the Latino Community Services here. I got Second Harvest Food Bank here. I got ESR here. I got the Forsyth County Department of Public Health when it comes to mental health and everything else. I got the Piedmont Environmental Alliance here. If you all want to talk to any of these people on your way out, feel free. But trust me, we are on it. Whether it's the mental health, the physical health, your homes, your yards, your everything. We needed to hear from you in order to compile our list of what needs to happen. Tomorrow night, we have another meeting at Brown Douglas Recreation Community Center on Indiana besides Piney Grove Church. It's from 6 to 7:30 as well. Again, I thank all of you for being here tonight, taking time out of your busy day, but believe that Councilmember Burke and myself and the staff of Winston-Salem, we are working to make this better for you and hope to provide answers for everything that you asked us to. One more thing. There are lawyers, groups, organizations that will probably be following up with some of you. Some of them might even be here. I don't know. I told them they can do that on their own. I can't do that. But it behooves you, if you get a phone call or an email, to respond. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right, go do you. Good night, be blessed, and be safe.